Hi, welcome back for English 3. Today's class session, we are going to focus on unraveling the main idea and drawing inferences from text. So let's take a closer look at what that means. So whenever we start a lesson, we talk about our Tennessee State Standard so that we know what we're learning and why we're doing it. So the Tennessee State Standard says, with the few keywords of analyzing and inferences, analyze what text says explicitly and draw inferences. Support an interpretation of the text by citing and synthesizing relevant textual evidence. So that textual evidence piece is not new. We've been doing this all year. Whenever we read something and ask you questions, you not only need to tell us the answer, but you basically have to prove your answer, right? So you prove your answer using textual evidence. So this could be a quote, a specific line from whatever you're reading that really backs up what you're saying for your answer. So let's talk about why. That's the what, but why? Why bother? What is this? We do this so that you can read text carefully and figure out what the text is saying. So let's talk about the word text. I feel like a lot of times when I mention that, y'all really think about like your textbook that we use in class sometimes, or the novel that we're reading, or if I hand out an article, that's the text. But text, it goes beyond the four walls of the classroom. A text can be something on social media. The text can be a poem. The text could be an article. The text could be something off a website. If you're looking for some specific information about something and you Google something and pull that up, that's the text. Also, text could be a job application. So let's say you're looking for a job and you pull up all the information, read the job description, and begin to apply. That text for the job application, it's really important that you read it carefully and that you understand it. So that is why we want to be able to analyze, make inferences, and really understand the main idea of whatever the text is that we're reading. All right, so identifying the main idea helps us understand the purpose and the significance of the text. So if we look at this, and I'm going to just adjust that there. If you look at the significance of the text, it really depends on what the author's choice of words are, why we're reading it. Is it for entertainment value or is it informative? Because that's going to really help us pick apart and understand the purpose for what the text has been written. All right, so taking a look at this, consider the title and the opening sentences. So a lot of times those opening sentences are really trying to grab your attention. So when we talk about Glass Castle, if you'll remember, right away it talks about, a lady in a car. She's in a cab at a taxi in New York City headed to Park Avenue, and she looks over and sees a woman that she recognizes digging through the dumpster, and it turns out to be her mom. So that gives you a lot of insight just from those very first 2 or 3 sentences of the novel about clues for what the main idea of the novel is going to be about. So it's really important to kind of make sure you're looking for clues like you're a detective and you're digging in to find how you're going to be able to interpret the author's purpose and then the main idea of the chapter and then the main idea of the whole story, if you will. So while you're doing this, you're going to ask yourself, what is it that the author is trying to communicate? So again, this is really going to be important when you pick apart those clues to really look at author's word choice and make sure that you're making interpretations based on the text to really understand what the author's purpose is and what the main idea of the story is going to be. All right, so let's try one. Let's practice. So this is Gabrielle Union. She was one of the stars of a movie called Bring It On. And so we're going to read her essay title Dear Isis and kind of try to see if we can first identify some of the key words in her choice of words that she is using, and then make an assumption or an inference on what her purpose and main idea of it is. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you, but I really want you to follow along and really focus on the words and the word choices so that you can understand and be reflecting on what clues you are finding as we read this. Okay, here we go. In her essay titled Dear Isis, Gabrielle Union addresses her Bring It On 2000 character, Isis. I'm here to apologize to you. When I said today that you didn't go far enough, that was on me. I failed you and myself. I was the fourth lead, but my face was on the poster. You were the girl with no last name, but the star of every meme. You were only in about a third of the movie, and now I know to fight for equal time to tell your story. Your iconic moments with the Clovers are what people remember, though I know it's partly that we are bits of Black resistance dropped into the middle of the milk. All right, that's pretty powerful. So if you kind of look and try to decide what are some of these key words that you feel like she's chosen, okay? Because she could have worded this anyway, but she's chose some specific words here that I feel really help back her purpose. And let's talk about that. All right, so one of the questions that we're going to analyze and reflect on is, how does Gabrielle Union reflect on the unequal treatment of her character, Isis, compared to her own character in the movie, Bring It On? So as you scanned through and read along, you should have focused in on this key line. It says, you were the girl with no last name, but the star of every meme. You were only in about a third of the movie, and now I know to fight for equal time to tell your story. So there, the keywords equal story, equal time, and just comparing those two characters and their differences and how they came to fame and how they had a story to tell, but that she felt that she didn't give them equal time. So that takes us to this next piece that says, what does the author mean by the bits of Black resistance dropped in the middle of the milk? And then how does this statement contribute to the theme? So those keywords there, Clovers are what people remember, though I know it's partly that we are bits of Black resistance dropped into the middle of the milk. And so as you look at that, you should identify that that color contrast between the black and the white of the milk is lending to the theme of the essay for equal rights for women and equal rights for telling the story. So let's look at that a little closer. So the first question, Gabrielle Union reflects on how though she was the fourth lead, so not the star, okay, she wasn't the star, but she was the fourth lead. Her face was on the poster. She was still in the spotlight, if you will. While Isis had no last name, but was the star on every meme. So again, we have a character who maybe did not have the big spotlight, but definitely won over with the drawing the attention to and being a star of lots of things to come. And then didn't need all the time in the movie. But she says that both of these characters had a story to tell, and she feels that they should have had equal time to do it, regardless of the stardom that it brought. So let's look at question 2. This one's a little deeper and talks more about theme. This one says, the author is referring to the moments of the Black resistance that's represented by the character Isis and the Clovers when the predominantly white context of the movie. This statement contributes to theme by highlighting the theme of the Black representation in media and the struggle for equal recognition. And so we see this a lot in civil rights and in women's rights. And so this is what Gabrielle Union is trying to share, that we are still trying to fight for that equal rights, equal opportunities. So that's really saying a whole lot in just a paragraph. And so that's why it's really almost fascinating to kind of pick things apart, because even though it seemed like it wasn't a very long essay, it had a whole lot to say, didn't it? All right, let's move on. All right, so for this next piece, we're going to have an exit ticket. So we're going to pause the screen. You're going to be asked 3 multiple choice questions, and you're going to get graded on those. So make sure that you really have your understanding of what we've just reviewed so that you can show what you know.